Hey guys, Zybak here, and in this video you're going to see some different Feral Druid openers and DPS rotations. First I'm going to go over some of the abilities you're going to be using and what they do. First up is Feral Charge Cat, and this ability mainly functions as a way to get to your target quicker, but it also procs a free Ravage if you're spec'd into the Stampede talent. Along with having a 100% free Ravage, it also allows you to Ravage from in front of your target, so it's very valuable for PvP. Next up is Ravage itself, and this is the hardest hitting Feral Druid ability in the game as a single attack, and it's getting buffed next patch, and as you can tell it's a weapon damage ability. This means if you have a trinket like Unheeded Warning and it procs before you Ravage, you're going to hit some insane numbers. Normally you can only do this attack out of stealth and when you're behind your target, but if you have the Stampede buff that I talked about previously, you can do it in front of your target and out of stealth. Up next is Mangle, and this is the #1 ability you have to keep up the entire fight, no matter what you're doing, PvE or PvP. This is going to make your bleeds do an additional 30% more damage and make your shreds do more damage. So keep this up all the time, it's very important, more important than anything else. Mangle also does do decent damage, but it's definitely not a replacement for Shred. You want to use Mangle in situations where you can't get behind your target, whether it's a PvE boss that's not turned to you, or it's PvP and a guy's giving you a hard time about not letting you have his back. Spamming Mangle may be convenient, but it's not going to offer you optimal damage. Shred does more DPS and burst damage than Mangle ever will, but in order to Shred correctly, you're going to have a Mangle up and bleed up before you Shred. But once you do that, you're going to be doing insane damage. Up next is Rake, and this is a bleed that you can put on your target without using any combo points. This is a really great ability for putting a bleed up on your target so you can do optimal shred damage after your Mangle. So typically what most people do is they go Mangle, Rake, and then start shredding for combo points. This ability does a lot of damage for the energy cost, so you definitely want to keep this up all the time. Now onto the bread and butter of Feral Druid DPS, and this is Rip, one of the strongest DPS abilities for Feral Druids in PvE and PvP. You want to use this in conjunction with Mangle and Rake for tons of damage. You're only going to want to Rip at 5 combo points because Rip at 5 combo points does a ton of damage, way more than at 4 combo points, so it's really a waste to do Rip at anything other than 5 combo points. Again, like most Feral Druid debuffs, you want to keep this up all the time if possible. Up next is Fairy Fire, and you're only going to have to do this one time because it lasts 5 minutes, but what it's going to do is just decrease your opponent's armor by 12%, and it stacks up to 3 times, and if you're talented into it, it's going to instantly stack up to 3 times the first time you apply it, and give you 12% armor pen, and this is just going to be more damage for you and your party. In PvP, this is going to keep rogues from re-stealthing and vanishing, so it's really good to keep this up too, and more damage is always nice as well. Fairy Fire doesn't cost anything, so just apply this whenever you don't have enough energy to do a main attack. Up next is Savage Roar, and this is going to increase the damage of your white hits, and this is primarily a PvE ability since it's not really that practical in PvP since you're not going to be getting that many white hits off. You definitely want to try to keep Savage Roar up as much as possible, but if it comes to keeping Rip or Savage Roar up, you definitely want to keep Rip up instead. Most PvE druids pick up the Glyph of Savage Roar, which increases your damage by an extra 5% with Savage Roar up, so it makes Savage Roar even better for PvE, and the only real use for Savage Roar in PvP is if you're far away from your target and you need to get an instant Cyclone proc off, so you can just Savage Roar really far away from your target and just Cyclone someone else. Unlike Savage Roar, Pounce is really only used for PvP, and you only want to use it for the stun. It's not really worth the energy to do in PvE, but in PvP it's very valuable in locking your target down. And last but definitely not least is Ferocious Bite. This ability is really tricky to throw into your PvE rotation, and the PvE DPS really isn't that good on it, so a lot of Feral Druids don't even worry about it unless you're sub 25% on whatever boss you're fighting. Ferocious Bite becomes really good if your target is below 25% health and you're spec'ing the blood in the water, then it refreshes Rip. At that point, you don't even have to worry about Rip anymore, and you just spam Ferocious Bite for extra damage. Now I'm going to get into some openers, and this is my favorite opener right here. First I'm going to pop Berserk, then I'm going to Feral Charge Cat, Pounce, and Ravage. Then I'm going to Mangle, Rake, and Rip at 5 combo points. After you get the Rip up, then you can decide if you want to Instant Cyclone, go for Maims, or Shred for more damage, and Ferocious Bite and go for a kill. And you really don't want to use Ferocious Bite unless you know it's going to get you a kill in PvP. And as you can see right there, I put Fairy Fire up as soon as I didn't have enough energy to do a main attack, and now I'm good to go, and that's a pretty strong opener right there that's somewhat conservative since you still have Tiger's Fury up. This next opener is a lot more aggressive and does a lot more damage, but you're putting all your eggs in one basket, so it's kind of risky. I start off with Feral Charge, then Pounce, then Ravage, then Mangle, then I'm going to Tiger's Fury, Berserk, Rake, Rip, and start spamming Shred. And then I'm going to Shred all the way up to 5 combo points and Ferocious Bite. And again, none of this is set in stone. This is a PvP rotation. You're going to have to get CC out. You're not just going to DPS a target, obviously. So this rotation can vary, but this is the aggressive PvP opener. You are putting all your eggs in one basket, but as you can tell with the Tiger's Fury, Rake, Rip, it's doing tons of damage, and it's pretty nuts. Since you no longer have Berserk or Tiger Sphere, you really need to be careful with your energy and not use it as soon as you get it. As you can see right here, I'm pooling energy so I can maintain my Rake and Rip and keep all my debuffs up. Up next is my PvE rotation. I'm going to start off with Feral Charge Cat and get a Ravage out of Stealth rather than a Pounce, because a Pounce is a waste of energy, and then get up Mangle, Rake, Rip, and keep putting up all my debuffs. I get a Trinket proc right there, so I'm not going to get Savage Roar right up quite yet. I'm just going to get some more damage in, and then I'm going to get Savage Roar up as soon as the Trinket proc goes down. The PvE rotation is really just about keeping all your debuffs up and playing it safe. It's better to even sit at 100 energy and not let your Rakes and Rips fall off, rather than try to go for a big burst and then catch yourself and not be able to keep Rake or Rip up. So this is more of a boring DPS rotation compared to the PvP one, which is more burst centralized and where you can pull off a little bit more. PvE rotation, you just want to play it safe to do the best damage you possibly can do. Also, I don't worry about incorporating Ferocious Bite into my DPS rotation. It's just not worth the risk of running out of energy to not refresh a Rip or a Savage Roar. I just spam Shred instead, and the damage is pretty much equal. Ferocious Bite doesn't really do that much damage, and it's really not worth it unless the boss is below 25% and it's going to refresh Rip as well. Your main goal in PvE is to keep up Mangle, Rake, Rip, Fairy Fire, and Savage Roar while you shred. And if you're doing that, you're doing good DPS, and that's all you need to do. With all that being said, there really is no set Feral Druid DPS rotation. These are just templates. It's all really situational, and the best way to get better at it is just to practice. Anything can change. In PvP especially, raid bosses can be different. They can have raid mechanics that fear you, stun you, lock you out. Really, everything changes. But the bottom line of Feral Druid DPS is all about keeping your debuffs up, and if you can do that, you'll do alright. Now I've got a surprise for you guys since you've been so patient with me and the ZybakTV channel. I know I've been uploading all my really good videos to Machinima Realm, and I haven't really uploaded anything good to this channel in a while. But since you guys have been so patient with me, I'm going to do a contest on just this video. All you have to do to have a chance to win this mouse is thumbs up, favorite, and comment on this video, and in about 3 or 4 weeks, I'm going to pick a random comment, and I'll go on your profile and see if you thumbs up and favorited this video. If you did, then you'll win this mouse. That's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and good luck in the contest.